Bill Gast from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, was a tank driver with the 743rd Tank Battalion who landed in Europe on D-Day and fought through the end of the war. This is his second reunion with the Holocaust survivors that the 743rd Tank Battalion and 30th Infantry Division liberated. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to introduce Mr. Bill Gast.
I'm listed as a liberator. However, I am a survivor of World War II, having landed on Omaha Beach in Normandy, France on D-Day and fighting through to the end when the Germans surrendered May the 7th, 1945. And I'm thankful to be here today to give you just a glimpse of my wartime experience. I was 17, a junior in high school, when war was declared on the United States on December 7th, 1941. In order for the draft boards to meet their quota of men, the draft age was lowered to 18, and in less than a year, on December the 4th, 1942, I entered the military. I was inducted into the Army in New Cumberland, Pennsylvania, and was transferred to Fort Knox, Kentucky for basic training and Armored Force School and mechanical skills. Then on to Camp Campbell, Tennessee to learn to operate equipment. Camp Laguna was a barren camp in Yuma, Arizona, and there I joined the 743rd Tank Battalion for desert training and maneuvers. Originally, our outfit was to be shipped to Africa to enter the conflict against the Nazi army, which was under the command of Rommel, who was known as the Desert Fox. It became apparent that Rommel's surrender was imminent, so the 743rd was redirected to be shipped overseas. Destination unknown, via Camp Shanks, New York, port of embarkation. Top secrecy. No one was allowed on or off the base. We boarded the overcrowded HMS Aquitania, the third fastest ship of the Allied forces, and crossed the Atlantic in 7 days unescorted. The voyage was rough and there was extensive seasickness, but fortunately I was spared that agony. I do remember one incident, however. We had been issued little wool knit caps to wear under our helmet liners. Helmets were not required for inspection. We were to wear our little knit caps. One night, as another soldier and I were standing on deck, leaning over the rail, watching the ocean as our ship was cutting through the water, a gust of wind came along, and off went my cap. The troops had to be on deck each morning for inspection, regardless of conditions. "Gast, where's your cap?" Captain Phillips barked. "It blew overboard, sir," was my reply. "Did your razor blow overboard too?" "No, sir." End of conversation. The 743rd disembarked on November 24th, 1943 in Marach, Scotland, just in time for Thanksgiving dinner. After spending the night on rope beds with straw ticks, we traveled by train to Camp Chiselton, Wiltshire, England. I was a medium tank driver in Company A, and on December 3rd, we left for special assault training. During maneuvers, one soldier was killed by fragments in a range accident, and 11 were drowned when their craft carrying their tanks overturned in the high surf off the coast of the English Channel. Their tanks became their tomb. Our training was intense as we prepared for the invasion. As we got closer to what eventually would become D-Day, we loaded our tanks onto LCTs, landing craft tanks, and would go out into the channel. Imagine having three 35-ton tanks jammed onto a little boat barely big enough to hold them and the 15 men that operated them. Then leaving in the middle of the night for training or the invasion, we never really knew whether it was exercise or the real thing. D-Day was supposed to happen on the 5th of June, but because of extreme channel conditions, we got called back. So we got to do it all over again the next night. The LCTs were supposed to navigate right up to the beach and drop us off. There were shells exploding everywhere. Some of the landing crafts got hit, so there were lots of additional obstacles to navigate around. The captain of our LCT assured us that he would get us in close enough that when we drove down that ramp, our tanks would touch bottom and not be submerged. June 6, 1944 was the beginning of a harsh, bloody fight that stretched on for weeks and then months. The 743rd was in the thick of it until the Nazis surrendered on May 7, 1945. The 743rd landed on Omaha Beach, Normandy, France, on D-Day at 10- H-hour. Many of our tanks never made it to the shore. The fighting was fierce, casualties were high, and a lot of our equipment was destroyed. Pictures, video games, movies, words. They simply do not convey the feeling of fear, the shock, the stench, the noise, the horror and the tragedy, the injured, the suffering, the dying, the dead.